Welcome to Inspiring Narratives, your favorite channel for uplifting stories, renewed hope, and cultivating a deeper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Discover with me how turning to Allah can lead you to amazing changes in your life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are back with another uplifting story that will, by the grace of Allah, strengthen your faith and renew your hope, inshallah. Let's start by sending peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Do say it with me. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. I'm sure by now you have your favorite drink ready and you're comfortable, so let's get started with the story. We actually have two stories today. You may hate something which Allah turns into a great blessing. When Allah rewards us, His blessings fill us with awe and wonder. The blessings awaiting you behind that tough situation that you may be going through right now are beyond anything you could ever imagine. Listen to this story, which was told by a respectable scholar in the Arabic language, and I here translate it for you. He tells the story of a woman who reached the age of 35 years old and wasn't married. Both her mother and father had passed away, so she lived with her siblings, moving from one brother's home to another. All her siblings were married, but they often treated her very badly. They would belittle her and mock her for not being married, telling her that no one wanted her and making her feel worthless. They even made her feel guilty for the food and drink she consumed. She always turned to Allah in dua. "O Allah, I ask you for relief. O Allah, I ask you for relief." She knew that Allah had a plan for her, and she trusted in Allah completely. Many times when we make dua and we are waiting for that relief, and a long time passes, which seems like forever, and you feel like Allah isn't answering your dua, perhaps during this time Allah is preparing something for you beyond what you could ever imagine. One of her brothers came to her and told her that there's an elderly man who is asking for your hand in marriage. "I think this is a good idea, so that you can live your own life and leave this house," her brother said. Sad and heartbroken, she agreed. When she saw her soon-to-be husband, she realized he was a very old man who was in his late 70s. Feeling like she had no choice, they finalized the marriage contract and got married. You can imagine the sadness she was feeling at that point. She was utterly heartbroken. But she thought for a moment, maybe, just maybe, he'll be kinder to me than my brothers. The marriage was finalized. She hadn't yet moved out of her brother's house. She was waiting for her husband to visit so that they could start their new life together. 2 months passed and her husband didn't visit or come to take her. Her brothers started insulting her, telling her even this elderly man doesn't even want you. Even the man you married has abandoned you and isn't interested in you. They said the worst things they could have said to her, things that caused her so much pain. After 2 months, a young man came and knocked at the door, and he introduced himself. "My father passed away a few days after he married you, and that's why no one has come since. I've come to inform you and let you know that you have inherited 10 million rials from my father." He informed them and he left. He was a very wealthy man. She was telling the scholar how I was in the worst situation and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored me in a way that I couldn't even imagine. I so desperately didn't want to be with this old man, and I'd cry day and night. I'd ask Allah to save me from this marriage. If you are making sincere dua to Allah and you feel like the opposite is happening, like with this sister, there's khair, there's good you aren't aware of, soon to come to you, inshallah. Subhanallah, how Allah can bring so much good from a seemingly bad situation. So when you pray to Allah and things turn out differently than what you've asked for, remember that there is always good in the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's move on to our next story. I wonder how Allah will reward me for my patience and faith. Could it possibly happen for me? Allah's beautiful reward and blessings after the long wait. Or are you thinking Allah's beautiful reward and blessings isn't for me? The whole world has turned against me and every door seems shut. This is my fate, to live broken and sad. If you're thinking, yeah, that won't happen for me, I want you to remember this story if ever you feel those feelings. This story spread quickly in all newspapers across Egypt about 20 years ago under the title of وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى, and your Lord is going to give you and you will be satisfied. Now let me tell you the story. There was a woman who was 34 years old at the time and she hadn't married, and she felt as though she would never marry and that the time for her has passed. She got engaged, aged 34 years old. Her fiancé didn't tell his mother her true age. He told her that she was 29 years old. Before Katb Kitab, the marriage, by a month, her fiancé asked for her ID so that they could complete the marriage paperwork. A week later, she received a call from his mother saying, "I'm really sorry to tell you this, but you're 34 years old, almost 40. My son is my only child and I'm worried about his future as your chance of having children has gone down. I'm sorry, but I have to end this engagement. May Allah bring you someone better." The mother was able to convince her son that this marriage wasn't in his best interest, and he agreed and left her. Imagine how this woman must have been feeling at that time. For someone to insult her in that way for something that was totally out of her hands was the worst thing ever. She had no one to turn to, and she lived through an extremely difficult time. She felt so helpless and so sad. Her family suggested that the only solution was to go on a pilgrimage, Umrah, with her father. While she was at the Haram, the holy mosque, she was in such a terrible state that she didn't even know what to pray for. She overheard a woman in prostration saying, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى, and your Lord is going to give you and you will be pleased. And your Lord is going to give you and you will be pleased. It was as if that phrase was meant just for her. She broke down in tears, and from that moment on, she didn't say anything else throughout the Umrah except that phrase. When she arrived back in Egypt and reached the airport, she met a man who was talking to her father. He showed interest in her. A month and a half later, they got engaged, and soon after that, they married. A few months passed and she was yet to get pregnant, so she started to worry. She went to the doctor to check and make sure that everything was okay. When she went to the doctor assured her that there was no need to worry and there's no need for further tests because she was pregnant. The joy and happiness she felt was unbelievable. And after the 9 months had passed, she had triplets. Subhanallah. Allah blessed her after the pain of rejection due to her age and the fear that she might not be able to conceive. So my point is, no matter how difficult your situation or your circumstances are, no matter how many doors are closed, always have faith that Allah will provide for you and bless you with something better. This brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed these stories. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so do leave a comment below. I'll see you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.